So welcome back to What I Do Believe. And first of all, yes, it has been a while. The last time I dropped an episode was in March, which, depending on when you're listening to this, might feel like just a minute ago, or maybe it might feel like a really long time ago. So either way, thanks for sticking around. I had to take some time off from podcasting, mostly to survive life and recenter on what the heck I actually care about. But good news, I am getting into a rhythm again. So if you are still subscribed, you'll be seeing a lot more episodes showing up in your feed soon. And if this is your first time listening, welcome. Thank you for being here. And hopefully there will be some more episodes coming soon. There are plans for more episodes coming soon with fewer 5-month gaps in between. So, all right, let's talk. I have been reflecting a lot lately, especially since the end of last year. I have kind of been going through another faith shift, maybe a second round of deconstruction. It's not been this big meltdown or this big dramatic thing. It's been more slow. It's been more steady, just kind of under the surface rethinking of a lot of things. It was not something I was looking for. It's actually something I have been surprised that it has happened. And I just started to notice how many of the frameworks I've rebuilt weren't really holding up anymore, at least not in the same way. So it's just further evidence to what I've come to believe is true, which is that every time you think you're done or think you have arrived or that you have finished growing or learning, you will just be proven incredibly wrong if you're open to that. The only time that cannot be true for you, where you're like, nope, I'm done, I've arrived, and nothing's going to change that, that is just a conscious refusal to continue to learn and experience new things. That is called stubbornness, and not in the good way. So I try not to be stubborn. I try to be open-minded. And that being the case, prove myself wrong. There is always more to learn and grow and experience. And I've experienced some unexpected shifts in thinking really over the last couple months. And I've tried to think of some concise ways of summarizing this, especially for the sake of the podcast or for writing. And so the episode title, I think, will kind of give you a sense of a way I've come around doing that. And let me explain. So it surprised me the last couple months how much I've started sympathizing with agnosticism. So before you get too concerned, I don't mean that I've adopted the label of an agnostic. That doesn't mean I've stopped believing. It doesn't mean that I just don't know what to believe anymore. It's not that. But what I mean by that is I have found myself saying, I don't know a lot more, and meaning it. I found myself much less willing to be confident in ways of thinking about things, confident in certain viewpoints or certain positions on things, definitely moving farther and farther away from certainty. I know in my book, which came out earlier this year, and for a long time I've been saying, you got to get away from certainty. You got to get away from certainty. And I still think that's true, but what I've experienced in the last couple months is that I was saying that and meaning it, but there were still certain categories or certain areas where that release of certainty had not made its way to. And so that has kind of crossed over to some areas that have been uncomfortable and previously untouched. And so I'm even less certain now than I was, 4 or 5 months ago. So a lot of times find myself with a lot of different things saying, I just don't know. But honestly, I think that that's actually a good thing, because the longer I sit with all of this, The more I realize, even more than I realized when I wrote it down in my book and published it, 5, 6 months ago, it's even more true now than it was then. I don't think belief and faith is about certainty. It's not about certainty. Maybe it could be for you. I don't think so, but it's not my job to tell you about yourself. So at the very least, I could say it's not about certainty for me. Belief and faith in the kind of religious world I grew up in got framed a lot kind of like a courtroom thing. This was never kind of explicitly stated, but this is just kind of the metaphor that has come to me and helped me think about kind of how things felt in that environment. Kind of a lot like a courtroom, where having faith and belief in something is basically about being convinced that something is objectively true, which I think is where the whole apologetics thing comes from, of like, finding evidence and arguing your way into being convinced that it's true, and then trying to argue with other people and submit proof to other people. You collect enough arguments and evidence and present that in a compelling way, and boom, Christianity wins, and the case is closed. And so when faith is all about having the winning argument, no wonder there's anxiety there. No wonder any opposing viewpoint is not seen as interesting and met with curiosity and kindness, but it's met with anger, it's met with fear, it's met with antagonism, because it is a threat. Opposing viewpoints are opposing arguments, and that is threatening. And so I just think all of that is bad. I get why people love that. I get why people choose to stay there. It's clean, it's safe, it gives you answers, it gives you something to hold on to. But belief doesn't work like that for me, not anymore. And I'm honestly at a point now where I don't even know if I can say that there is one single absolute truth behind anything. And even if there is, I don't think that we could ever fully get to it. I think that we're all trying to talk about God and talk about the divine using language that we made up. Everything is made up, which is already a pretty weird start. But everything we experience is filtered by culture, by our experiences, by our trauma, by our bias, by our imagination. And when you really think about the fact that we are embodied creatures, and that so much of what we think and feel and experience isn't just about our objective thoughts in our minds, but also about our bodies, then, we can be impacted by what we ate for breakfast that morning, or the fact that we didn't eat breakfast. We are all interpreting everything all the time through all of these different lenses. And yes, that's true for those of us who read the Bible. We are interpreting scripture through all of that. And guess what? The people who wrote the Bible were human beings too. And so everything they wrote down came through those lenses as well. So we're all interpreting everything all the time. And so I don't know that it's ever possible to get to absolute truth, since it's impossible to remove the lenses through which we interpret and experience everything. So yeah, I think the things I think because I think they're right, but no, I don't think I have a handle on absolute truth. This is just the way I see it now through my experiences and my lenses, and I can guarantee you that I will see things differently at a later date in the future, because I'm going to continue to learn and grow. So no, I don't have the truth, and I also don't think anyone else does. But I want to be clear that I don't think that therefore I have to become an agnostic now. Maybe you could say everything that I just said and then say, well, who's to say what's true and what's not? If we can't know anything, then, might as well just say, I don't know, and become agnostic. But that's not what I'm saying. I'm not walking around like, well, maybe the God of the Bible's real and maybe the flying spaghetti monster is real. Like that's not where I'm at. I'm not just unwilling to say I believe anything because of all this. I actually do believe things. I believe things really deeply, but not because they've been proven to me, not because I've been intellectually convinced of them through an argument and airtight evidence, and not because I've been able to prove them to anybody else. I believe things because I choose to believe them. I believe things because I choose to. And that shift has made belief for me so much more about a choice than it is about being convinced. It's about confidence, not certainty. It's about commitment to something. It's not, I believe in this because I know it's right. I'm certain. I know that I know that I know. It's, I believe in this because I choose to. I believe in this because it's the kind of story I want to live inside. I believe in this because I find it beautiful. And I believe in this and choose to believe in this even if I'm wrong. I do. I believe in God. Not a God I can define, and not a God I can wrap up in a system. But I do believe in a God that's real. I believe in something grounding. I believe in a God that feels like love. And I believe in this God because living as if this God is real, it shapes my life and my experience in an incredibly positive way. Living as if this God is real makes me more patient. It makes me more grounded. It makes me more loving. It makes me more human. It makes me more fully alive and has helped me connect to my true self. I believe that Jesus shows us what that love looks like. Not as, like a theological mascot or a cosmic rule follower, but as someone who healed people, as someone who told the truth, as somebody who hung out with the wrong crowd and refused to play by the rules of power. That still speaks to me. I believe in grace. I believe people can change. I believe I've changed. And I believe that no one is defined by their worst moments. And I believe that everything is going to be okay. I really do. I believe in resurrection. Not because I can argue it or prove it, but because I have seen things that have come back to life. I have seen people come back to themselves. I've watched hope reappear when I thought it was gone. So yeah, I believe in all this stuff because I want to, because I choose to. And I've experienced the power of believing in these things. And you know what? I believe in all these things, and yeah, maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe none of it's true. Me believing in this stuff does not mean that I have to be certain that it's all true. I can sit here and say I believe in it and say, you know what, maybe I'm wrong. And you know what, that's fine. That's okay. Every belief system is a risk. Every worldview is a bet. And anybody who is certain that their way of viewing things is absolutely true, they have just got really good at convincing themselves of that by repeating their own opinions in an echo chamber and ignoring or attacking opposing viewpoints to the point where they just have an overconfidence rooted in fear and insecurity, not really rooted in certainty. In fact, I've come to believe that certainty really doesn't exist. It's impossible. Certainty is an illusion. Certainty is the mask that fear wears, and that this need to control and this need to be right wears out of fear of not having it all together, not being right, and so it's an illusion at best. And yeah, that's not where I want to be anymore at all. I am okay choosing to believe in things, even if they're wrong. Because if I'm going to be wrong, I would rather be wrong about things that are worth being wrong about. I'd rather be wrong in the direction of love than in the direction of control. I'd rather be wrong in believing that mercy is too big than that mercy is too small. I'd rather be wrong in living like grace is real, even if it's not. I'd rather be wrong in believing that God is better than I thought he was, not worse. So that's what faith looks like for me right now. Not certainty, not even clarity all the time. Just choosing to believe because I want to, because I hope it's true, because it shapes me, and because it keeps me becoming somebody that I actually want to be. So, yeah, I guess I'm kind of like an agnostic, but actually not really, because I am willing to say this is what I believe, even though I don't know for certain that it's true. And it's not airtight, and I'm not trying to convince you of the certainty of the things that I believe either. But it's what I believe because I've lived enough life to know what kind of story I want to live inside. And this is still that one. So, thank you for being here. It's good to be back. More episodes soon. Probably not perfectly scheduled. I'm definitely still figuring things out, but that's kind of the point. So, thank you for listening, and see you next time.